Good morning, everybody. Grab your coffee, take your seats, because we want to get started and give our special guest as much time as we can before church. We are very excited in the next iteration of our Caring for Creation series this fall to have Peter Schmidt, the executive director of the Norfolk Botanical Garden, here with us to talk a little bit. I know many of you are familiar with that, not all of you though, so hopefully you'll come and learn about one of the great treasures of our city, of our whole region, really, and the ways in which they are using the gift of God's creation to do all sorts of wonderful things. So both in what they have had and in what they are building. Some really exciting stuff that is coming together over there. So I'm not going to take any more of Peter's time, but thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention. And Peter, I turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me, Father Noah. This is fantastic. So I thought today it would be fun. Did a little overview of what's going on at Norfolk Botanical Garden. If you haven't been there, highly encourage you to do so. I think what's great about today is it's a chance to say, hey, what's going on, but also talk about what really is important, our connection with nature, and maybe different ways where we can maybe further that. So to start off, again, so I'm Peter Schmidt. I'm the president and CEO at the Norfolk Botanical Garden. I've actually been with the garden for about 6 years now. I came in as the CFO, and about 2 years ago, I decided to, or was asked to lead the organization as the CEO and bring forth, if you will, our Garden of Tomorrow project, which we'll talk about today. But first, who are we? What is the Norfolk Botanical Garden? So we are one of the larger gardens in the U.S. Newsweek ranked us number 3 in the U.S. as far as best botanic garden. I think later on there's a slide, but if not, we also recently got awarded best butterfly garden in the U.S. full stop. So we're the number 1 butterfly garden. We're excited by that. We see about 500,000 visitors each and every year, which is pretty amazing. It's an honor to provide a space for people to just take a moment, and that's one of the things that we encourage guests as they come in. Come visit, breathe, take a moment, enjoy that. We have over 16,000 members that support the garden, and we do try to make the garden accessible for all. So we don't want the socioeconomic barriers that are out there. So we work with things like Power Up program and Museums for All. Museums for All is like a lower priced entry point for some individuals, and Power Up is anyone on Medicaid can come in for free, full stop. And that's not just limited to being a Norfolk resident. That is, if you're on Medicaid and you would like to come to the garden, you are able to enjoy that. Some beautiful pictures. So this is what this is about today, connecting with nature. This is a picture of one of our gardens, Le Jardin. It's one of my favorite gardens. It is just stunning, and this is actually earlier on in its life cycle here. So it's blooming and it's tremendous. So again, this is if what I say today, yes. We can, but let me go ahead and move it, and we'll put it up only because it is a rare and endangered plant. So we're going to move this right over here. There we go. All right, we'll save that for the end. Other fun stories about the garden. This is very much an honor. We are recognized on a U.S. postage stamp. A lot of folks don't know that. So that is for our rose garden, which is in bloom right now. So it's a great place to visit. But we think about conservation. Most folks don't know we are an accredited museum. That means we work to the highest standards in the museum world to be recognized for that. We're actually a museum because of our living collection. Right, so that's pretty amazing. We're also members with the Botanic Gardens Conservation International. Again, as we talk about plants, we talk about the plant over here, it goes back to partnerships. One of the things Father Noah and I have talked about before and really are trying to do more of is getting like-minded people together, figuring out what we can do as a united force to make change and to sort of improve the world, especially when it comes to nature. Other little awards that we like to highlight, another beautiful picture. I will say, a little plug for my team, we are doing our annual light show. When I talked about the 500,000 visitors that we have coming each and every year, 103,000 guests came through to the garden last year during our light show. It's even more incredible this year. I know a few years ago we got rid of the drive for various reasons. One, it wasn't really on mission for us to have people driving their cars through the garden, but also what's more important is we want people to slow down. Take a moment with your family, have a hot chocolate, walk around. My wife and I do that, she's in the back, hi Sasha, we do that on a regular basis because that's what we need to encourage more people to do, right? You think about wellness, you think about the power of nature, the power of where people can connect with God. And that's that moment, right? So, all right, Garden of Tomorrow. What is that? You know, it's funny. This was a an exercise of, hey, there's a construction project that we're doing. We called it the Garden of Tomorrow, and we talked about it's almost done, by the way, open spring of 2026. And we thought, okay, well that's done. That project is done. And then we realized it's not. The Garden of Tomorrow is every day for us. The Garden of Tomorrow is not just the construction you'll see in a moment. It's the 175 acres we take care of each and every day, right? That's a different mindset that we're having at the garden. Which is pretty powerful. So a little view, speaking of 175 acres, this is an aerial of the entire property. The area in green is the one that we're really focused on doing work on. To the right-hand side of the screen, that is actually what is going to be our conservatory. That's really the heart of this project, and we'll have some pictures of that in a second. Okay, some cool visuals. The upper left-hand side, that's actually on a skywalk, so you will literally be up amongst the trees, and you can walk inside the conservatory, the tropical biome, look down at the tree canopy. For us, what's exciting is not just its beauty, is from an educational component, because that is part of our mission. Imagine having kids come in and actually be able to see what a tree canopy looks like, right? That's really, really cool. Lower left-hand side, we're expanding the space we have right now. We do have a dock, so we work a lot with different rowing clubs that come out and do things. You'll notice there's some kayaks in the water. One thing I'm really excited by is we are putting in 2 accessibility kayak launches. That will allow just pretty much anyone who wants to connect with nature and the water can do so. So you might find us, partnering again. It's all about partnering with groups like Wounded Warrior Project or things like that to again be accessible. It's a parking lot. I know, very exciting. It's where this matters is one. It is actually pretty amazing that we call this a parking garden, in part because of the number of trees. There'll be over 100 trees in that parking lot or a parking garden. It's what I really love about this is using new technology. And as people come through, and I had some folks from Rotary who's heard this part before. I spent most of my career in for-profit, and so a lot of times my head goes to what's the ROI on a project? This is one of those stories. So if you run a business and you're thinking of really doing a parking lot, take listen. Because in Virginia you have to deal with stormwater management, and part of, as we were expanding, getting a few more parking spaces, that was a challenge for us. And we had the option to do the traditional, let's carve out and put in almost a 1-acre retention pond that we have to maintain that basically takes up the space of something like 60 or 70 parking spaces. And we thought there has to be a better way. There has to be a better solution. So we found this green-blue technology, which basically takes that retention pond and puts it underneath the ground. It puts it in the ground, you permeable pavers over it, and then you can park cars there and put trees in. What you're seeing here is a visual of basically you see some bicycles, cars would be, also be parking on those permeable pavers, and then you have these big, happy, healthy trees. They are going to absorb around 40% of the water that goes into those boxes that looks like sort of plastic boxes. They'll absorb that water, the tree gets bigger and happier. It grows, I think, at about a 30% incremental rate over just when they put a tree just in the ground, right? So this is a really, really cool balance of using technology, finding ways to make it greener, and from a for-profit side would be, I get more parking spaces to allow we have more people coming in to visit. So really, really checks all those boxes. This is a lovely view of the entry pavilion, which is looking more and more like this every day. Although I will say, just inside baseball, we did get rid of the glass little barriers there because I think that would break people if they had to clean that every day. So we have a different entryway on that. Some inside pictures, again, so what you're looking at here is a place where you can have coffee, you can do some work and just really enjoy yourselves. My favorite spot right here is all the pastries, but I love this picture, this rendering. It actually looks like this in there at the moment, where you'll see these lights up there, and they're made of mushroom. So you think about using technology, you think about where you can find the right balance and sustainable sourcing. It is so cool, and we're going to have one out you can actually touch when you come out because I think it's just a neat experience. If ever we decided we didn't like the palette, we can take them down and compost them. How cool is that? The bar countertop there too will actually be made of, it's actually a material made of paper. But it works like any other countertop. So again, trying to find ways that we can be more environmentally friendly in our building is important to us, and we're really executing on that. Wellness. So we talk about this and the power of nature, right? I can't encourage you enough. If you, or a friend, a family, there's a moment you're struggling, there is the power, not even at the garden, anywhere. When you connect with nature, right? When you pause and you can be in awe of a particular tree or a plant, that is the moment. That is a moment when you can really find yourself, I think, or you can help other people find themselves. So I lean in this is that we are having a health and wellness approach to the garden, a more emphasized approach. So we're partnering with Centera Health. We're building some wellness programs. So whether it be a self-guided tour through the garden with waypoints where, hey, this is where you can do a breathing exercise. This is where you can close your eyes and do a visualization. We want to do more of that, right? And for us, it's easy because we're not doing the heavy lifting. It's using the beauty of nature that's really doing all the work. So that's really exciting for us. Other visuals here, I love this view from the skywalk. What you're seeing in the upper part of that screen is actually a sky meadow. So I think there's another slide here. Yep, some other sense of what it's going to feel like coming into the garden. And this is our rooftop garden vision. Again, it's basically highlighting nature as art. One of the things you'll see a lot of, and we'll talk about actual artworks and traditional art in a minute. But again, we want to take the moment as people come and visit the garden is to understand or better understand nature is art. And so you will go to the rooftop garden. It's also accessible by elevator, but you go to the rooftop garden and the breeze comes through and you watch these beautiful plants move and all around. There's something about that. There's something about highlighting, again, the power of nature and its value. So we're really excited to see that come together. And then the other point I wanted to bring up too, it's about community. So one of the things we just added or adding to the project is a small stage. It's modest, but the idea behind it is we want to be more of a community partner. So whether it be the Virginia Symphony, whether it be the ballet, someone to do a pop-up event right outside our little bistro area as people are going through the conservatory, they can understand what other kind of amazing offerings we have in the Norfolk area. So that's really exciting. Okay, the heart of the project. I'm taking my time here. Oh, good, okay. So love this part of the project. We are preparing a 26,000 square foot conservatory. And to put that in the numbers, that will be in the top 10 largest glass houses in the US, if not the top 5, arguably. It's unique because it has both a tropical and a desert biome. So many times you'll see a conservatory that's consistent one or the other, or the desert biome is just so small that it's not very meaningful. So we're very glad to sort of introduce this to the community and really push on our mission, which is about sustainability and about conservation. And I think what I might do here, and I apologize, I'm going to bring it up for just a second and not trip on this plant. So we'll pause and talk about what we're doing. So this here, don't drop it. Okay, good. The team let me take it with me, which is amazing. So this is a Philodendron spiritus. Sorry, I'll do the Latin version the best I can. It's the Philodendron spiritus sancti. Look at my wife, and she's saying I did all right. Okay, it means Holy Spirit in Latin, right? So it's very on point today. What's so amazing about this? So this is one of the plants we'll have in the conservatory. It is rare and endangered. There's only 100 of them in the U.S. Or sorry, 100 of them in the wild. Some people do have them as house plants, but they are super rare. And it's tied to deforestation. So its natural habitat, I think it's Brazil. Because of deforestation, it doesn't have a home. And so part of this project is to say, hey, can we provide space for certain plants that are endangered, that whether we can do some habitat rehabilitation and put them back into those places would be amazing, or are we the last vestige for those plants? We've talked about before thinking about the conservatory as sort of Noah's Ark, right? What's interesting about this community that I work in the plant world, it's not just about us, it's about all of the botanic gardens throughout the US and the world. One of the things that came up, where did we get this plant? This actually came from another institution. So they were able to propagate, had one, and gave it to us. If you saw in the news, we actually have it. It's very popular, the corpse flower. If you're not familiar with it, they're beautiful, but they also really stink. But what's amazing about it, that was a gift from the U.S. Botanic Garden. So it was, you just can't go down to Home Depot and pick one of those up, right? It's again, these unique specimens that we can get because there's a partnership. And I know Father Noah's talked about before, even in our own community, how can we work together to better this world? How can we get together and protect nature? And this is how you do it. This is a perfect example of a plant that I think just really personifies that. There's a note here, I just thought it was funny, is these plants are really popular houseplants, if you can find one, because pretty much that's where they are now. But it was also sort of dubbed the Holy Grail because you can't find one. So if you can find one, there's that. I had to get that plug in there. But again, I already said, look, it's endangered because of deforestation. So part of as we move forward and we have this amazing conservatory is to tell the stories behind some of these plants. Why are they endangered, right? To highlight, and for us, it's like highlight some of the benefits of protecting these plants. We're protecting the possibility. We don't know of the plants that we have in our conservatory or other conservatories, which one holds the cure for cancer, right? Which one has a cure for some ailment that we're trying to eradicate that sits in that plant. But because we haven't had the time, or because that plant is becoming extinct, we may never find it, right? So part of the role for us creating this conservatory is to allow it and buy us time. Now, we're not doing the research there, but we are trying to place a home for those plants to maybe have a chance to get us that time. So really, really cool stuff. This is really nice too. I'm really excited by this. My little techno nerd loves this about this project. What we're looking at here, there'll be a handful of screens. We're trying to keep the digital impact to a minimum, but we do realize that certainly has a value. So for communicating a message, sometimes digital is the way to go. So what we're looking at right now on this screen is, imagine you're looking at a collection of plants in front of you and you're curious about what is that plant. So this will allow you, there'll be, let's say, 8 to 10 different plants with little numbers on them, and you can click on it. And then, I don't know if the next slide, there we go. You can click on it, it's perfect, like I planned it. You can click on it and learn more about that plant, right? So at the bottom here, you can say, hey, what's its habitat? What animals are connected to it? What's its history? For kids, what's its superpower? What's gonna be really fun about that plant that they might wanna learn more? So we're using technology. This would be the visual you might see on the tablet, just to drill down on that plant. The other thing I'm really excited by is this will be portable. So we'll have it on the local server, but also accessible on the web. We would love to partner with like a CHKD or something else. And so if you have kids that maybe can't get out to the garden for various reasons, what if we can get them a tablet where they can explore the garden in a different way? And ideally, we can make it so when they are healthier or they're looking for that motivation, they can see the plant they love, right? They can make that trip. So I think it's really powerful. I think it's really important. And just one more way to help do education. Okay. What else is going on at the Garden of Tomorrow? So this is an exciting announcement. This was public now, but we just love showing the pictures. You think about art and nature. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I forgot. Chick, you were supposed to get me on that one. And I didn't drop it again. I'll tell you the cat story later on tonight. They loved it. No, so Dale Chihuly, so many of you already are familiar with Dale Chihuly, internationally renowned glass artist. We are bringing to the conservatory a full collection of his work. We estimate it'll be one of the top 5 largest in the US as far as a permanent collection in a conservatory. So again, as we talk about this project, you're hearing a lot of one of the top 5 in the US, if not nationally, internationally, right? That's the scale that we're working on. And we think it's important because we know that will draw people in. And once they're in there, they're gonna be around nature, they're gonna see it and go, this is amazing. I feel better when I leave. And that's the point, right? So we are bringing in this new glass collection. This is another unique piece. This is the saffron and sangria azalea chandelier. I emphasize the word azalea because if you're familiar with Chihuly's work, he typically names things basically shape, a color and shape, and that's it. We told him our story, right? We told him the story about there were 200 African American women and 20 men that cleared the land through the WPA project, and they were our first curators of this garden, and they planted azaleas, right? And that's what we're known for. And we told that story to Dale in the studio, so he created this piece and named it the Azalea Chandelier. That's pretty powerful, right? We also found out a story too, when you think about the power of nature, is his mother loved azaleas, right? So power of nature. He was reminded of his mother. She passed, but reminded of her and thought this was a great way to pay her homage. So I thought that was fantastic. Another beautiful visual, I may get in trouble for this, but we did call it Tidewater teal. Apparently some people call it that. We're going with that. So Tidewater teal, again, I know Hampton Roads is supposed to be the name, but talking with Dale in the studio, again, he's very much a proponent about water and protecting water. This is, again, one more way to tell that story. So someone comes to the garden, they see this beautiful chandelier, maybe that's the draw of the glass, but then we can tell them about what things can we do to protect the waterways, right? It's a great kind of symbiotic kind of relationship there. Other great pictures, you get a picture of size and scale. There's Dale doing his thing, and we're not done. I'm just looking at my time so we can get some questions here. Some other visuals, you get a sense. This is really the layout for inside the desert biome. So no plants in there clearly at this visual. But one, you could see where those glass pieces go. But two, the feel of walking through an actual desert. It's going to be really immersive. And again, that's part of the experience. Here's one of the tropical biome. You'll see that skywalk up above. You'll be able to look down and see the tree canopy. And we're not done. So we talk about the power of nature and what it can do for our community, but we realize one big gap we had at Garden Tomorrow is, where are we teaching people about it? Where do we have a space to do that like this? This is a fantastic space. Tell stories, have people come in. We needed that. So we are creating the new Brock Environmental Education Center, very similar to the one that was in Virginia Beach. This space is really dedicated. It'll be right behind the conservatory. It's hands-on learning. It's a classroom for the students in the community, right? So we'll coordinate with most of the schools in this area. To put in perspective, we actually work with almost every school, I think, in the area in Hampton Roads in some way, shape, or form. And we want to expand that. I think we saw 7,000 students this past year. We want to double that. We want to figure out how we can do that. Some of it's getting transportation figured out and the like, but having a dedicated space makes all the difference. So we have this dedicated space for a classroom. We have a hands-on learning lab, so we'll have the microscopes and all those fun things. For maybe all of us in this room, there's hands-on learning in the greenhouse, so we can all go in there and maybe learn how to pot something up or see if we can't get cuttings from that guy. I don't know. But that's really the space that we're creating. So to me, that's probably the end of what makes the overall project so impactful. And it's just additive to the current 175 acres award-winning garden that we already have, right? So it's really been an honor to be part of that project, to maybe, again, highlight the value and the power of nature. And to me, I think that's what it's all about. So anyway, that is our Garden Tomorrow. That is the Norfolk Botanical Garden. I think we have a few minutes here before our hard stop. If there are any questions, we have a mic, I think.
Are there going to be any changes made to the existing Baker building once these new buildings open up? How are you going to make use of that space? Are there going to be any changes across the street?
Yes, I was hoping you were going to come with suggestions, because no, we are, and actually we're
Well, we love the art installation
Yes,
in the foyer there.
Yeah, and we do plan to keep the art, for example, that's one. So we'll make some changes to that space. We won't need it as far as a guest services area, so people can come in. We'll probably put up some walls and move things around. I love the idea, as there's currently a video that plays in there all the time, is to make that more of a sort of a movie room, if you will, maybe multi-purpose, but we're working on a project, it doesn't leave this room, although it's being recorded, kind of called sort of like Voices, right? And it's capturing stories of the garden and of our past, right? So how cool would it be is if you can go into a space and there's a tablet and you click on one of 6 different movies about different stories, 15-minute stories of something tied to the garden. So what if it's about the original WPA workers? What if it's about the Chihuly installation? What if it's about some project we're doing tied to nature? So that's one of the things we're working on, but we really do want to still build upon the tie-in to art and art in the community, so that will stay in some way, shape, or form.
Is there a concern about bird strikes with all of the glass that you have in the conservatory and the greenhouse?
That is a brilliant, brilliant question. There is and there was, and we're mitigating it. So that conservatory, actually, we worked with the Audubon Society. All of that glass you see has these little hexagon type shapes that only birds can see. So it's basically a anti-bird strike glass. So if you're a bird, you're happy and you're having your good day and you see this tree you want to fly on, you're like, whoa, there's something there. And it prevents that. It's a great question. We were really pleased that we knew that would be a challenge early on. We looked for the best solutions we could. And then as we were doing that and kind of locking that down, the Audubon Society reached out to us and we said, hey, this is what we're doing. And they said, that's A+. So great question. And we love our birds.
So are there any plans at any point in the future to have a dedicated sub-garden to native plants to the area?
For native plants?
Yeah.
We are expanding that. So we actually added conservation into the title of one of our Vice President of Education's title to focus more on native plants. The parking garden itself, I believe, is at least 95% native plants. And we do want to expand that because we understand the value of it. Even as we get to when we do our plant sales and things, we're trying to help educate folks of, hey, this is an invasive species. We're not going to do that. Even if it's sterile, we're not going to do that. Here's a better option. Here's another option. I don't want to be controversial, talk about a butterfly bush, but it's like, here's another option for you regionally that's better for it. It's a great question. We do want to encourage native plants.
Will there be insects, reptiles, birds added to the conservatory?
Great question. No, just different reasons. We might have insects from a sustainability perspective if we're trying to take care of other insects and whatever that they want to do there, but no birds, no anything else. We do have our butterfly house, which is separate, and that will still exist. The butterfly house is interesting too because those are native butterflies. So that is definitely a space that we want to lean into. But inside a conservatory that size, it's difficult to have any kind of animals. There's also other regulations about it, but we thought about it, but unfortunately no. Sorry.
Peter, speak to.
Can you use that? Check use that because we need it for the online.
Please speak to the fundraising and how the community stepped up to make all this happen.
Thank you.
Without government involvement.
Thank you. That was not a plant, but no, it's look, it's amazing. So we have over 1,700 individual donors that help shape this project. We're still raising just about $2.5 million to finish it, but it's been an amazing journey that many people in this community understands the value and the power of this project. It's actually grown even from when I started here, and that's why we're excited to actually have it done in the next 6 months, really. But no, great question. Oh, so the overall project, it's with the incorporation of the Chihuly glass artwork. It sits at about a $50 million project. Now keep in mind, when I started there, I think it started about 17. That was pre-COVID. That was all the other things that are gone on in the world. So it's definitely grown. But also the size and scope of this project has grown. So we did add, like I said, that unique parking garden solution was added. The Environmental Education Center was added. We did some expansion inside. We added a skywalk, and it really elevated that. It went from, I will say, a smaller project to something that I'm leaning pretty heavily, saying this is not just going to be a nationally recognized garden, but an internationally recognized garden. And if you were to take, hypothetically, put it into AI, and list out all the things that we're going to be opening up to this community, it really stands on the same caliber of internationally recognized gardens. Don't tell Q that, though.
What type of trees are you putting into the parking lot?
Oh gosh, that was a great question. I should know the answer to that off the top of my head, and it escapes me at a moment. I will come back with that information next time. They are natives. There are 3 of them. I literally cannot think of one of their names as we speak. Yes?
But it probably works because of that water underneath, because that's an issue here in condos and things like that.
Yeah, and the idea was, and that's why we wanted to do natives, because we did want to be able to say this is something you can lift and shift. This is something that the city of Norfolk can leverage. This is something that other businesses can leverage. Here's the tree, here's the solution, and you don't have to have all those bits and pieces connected. That box can sit on its own, and it could as a standalone piece. So it doesn't have to be the giant, hey, here's this amazing, huge parking garden, it could be here are these 2 or 3 trees in an area of construction that will allow those trees to grow bigger, happier, healthier. One of the things that's really was always heartbreaking is you go around to a city and they do a planting, they put a tree in the ground, and then 5 years later it's still looking sad, and you're like that's just so disappointing. This really will prevent that, and we're tracking the size and growth of those trees, so we can really walk the talk, and in 3 or 5 years we can say, hey, this is what it looked like here, and now it's this level. Really encourage others to think about that solution to get more green and more trees in the ground.
I would like to add to your list of videos a suggestion to do one of the butterfly house, because in the months when the butterfly house is closed, we could see that, and it would tell us, come back and see them live. So
I love that. Thank you. I'm going to I'll say I'm going to steal it, but you offered it, so I'm going to take it. No, that's great. And that's one of the other things we enjoy doing. Like I said, there's something about what connects you to nature and what gives you peace, right? And that's what this whole conversation is really about. I don't know what that is, and that's okay. That's for you to figure out. But giving yourself the opportunity, giving yourself the permission to explore that, to take time for you really matters. And you talk about butterflies. There is something about you walk in a butterfly house and a butterfly lands on your finger, right? If that doesn't say, hey, there's something else going on that I can't explain, that's it right there, right? That's when you're appreciating, God and His creation in a little tiny nutshell with wings.
I have young children, and so one of the things we love about the Botanical Gardens is that there's activities for young kids. I don't know who designed or put in the giant hill of sand. It's a stroke of genius.
Yes.
It is absolutely genius. And then you've got the splash pad. So I'm curious, what else are you doing for children? Because that's a huge piece of any botanical gardens, and I've been to many that don't include that crucial element as part of this.
Wonderful, wonderful question. Also not planted, but a few things that we're doing. So one is looking at what we currently do. So again, things like the butterfly house, which is a great way to have kids learn and connect with nature. Absolutely. The sand pile, which the funniest thing about that was a temporary exhibit, much like the Eiffel Tower. It was not supposed to stay, and then became very popular. So now that will always be there. But kids love it. But what are we doing in education and connecting with kids? So again, we talk about that environmental education center behind the conservatory. The reason we did that is just for that. How do we get kids more connected to nature and the natural world? I mentioned earlier on we had that dock that we're putting in on the water. So not only will it take kayaks out, but our pontoon boats can actually park there. So imagine if you're a young child, you come in on a bus, you exit kind of near the water, get on a boat. Right? For some of these kids, it might be the first time they've been on the water. So they're out on the water. They explore our canals. They get off the boat, get on the tram, then go into this educational, or go through the conservatory, right? Now they're seeing the glass art. They're seeing the plants. They're learning about, hey, here's this one plant that there's only 100 of them in the wild. And then we get them into that education space where maybe they're planting, maybe they're doing other things with their hands, right? Getting their hands in the soil. Then they take a break for a snack, and maybe we harvest something from one of the gardens out front, right? Maybe there's a zucchini or something else. We have them come to the bistro. They watch how that food could be prepared for them from a meal. They understand that connection of, here's this thing that came from the ground that now I'm eating and it's amazing. That's part of what we're trying to do. So we're definitely doing that. From a fun side, if you will, more traditional fun, the WOW garden, as we call it, the World of Wonder garden, we are looking to expand that. After this project is done, that is next on our list, to expand that, but again, because we understand when you make education and learning fun, that's when you get them. That's when kids are learning and they don't even know they're learning, and that's what we're going to really do more of.
I think I have the only kid in the world who doesn't like the sand pile. She doesn't like being dirty. Question, your neighbor at the airport, what kind of partnership, if any, have y'all done with them, or what kind of discussions have you had with them as you were building this? I mean, they're literally right over the hill.
Yes. They, we talk with them fairly regularly. We don't, unfortunately, we can only influence so much, and when they're doing their own construction, we can offer our services. But again, they're on their own path, but we do work with them on a regular basis. So we'll either walk over there, or them to us, at least a few times every year, and we see each other in different circles. But we are going to do a little bit more partnerships, I think, as they open their new facility, even maybe from an art perspective, again, elevating the broader Hampton Roads area by saying, look at all the amazing things we do. And when they have their first flight to London, we could all go visit Kew Garden and come back here. That'll be our ask. How are we doing on
Over
time
here
here?
to Susan.
A few more minutes.
Have you ever considered putting distance markers on your signs or on your maps? Because some people are physically challenged and they want to see a particular exhibit and they don't know if they have the ability to walk there and walk back.
Well, we just considered that. As you said, that's a brilliant idea. And look, one thing, I'm going to pause on that because that's fantastic. When we think about community and it's sort of how we work as a garden, these are the things that always make us better, right? We have these moments where we can connect as a community and, hey, have you thought about it? And I'm like, no, but I should have. But that's a brilliant idea. We'll talk to our team on Monday and to say, hey, what would it take to go ahead and add some of those distance or waypoints? It's funny you brought that up. I was working at the front counter and giving people some advice of, do the 3 bridge tours, I put it. And so I went and walked it. It was about a mile. But I don't know why I never thought to put it down somewhere to say, hey, by the way, if you want to walk a mile, it's this. This is a half mile. We do offer our tram service, which is great. But either way, that's a fantastic addition. So you will see that in the next iteration. Thank you.
Heard it here first. Excellent. Any other final questions for Peter? Yes, I knew there'd be one. Chris, here, I'm going to give this to you so we can
You
get
get
it
the final question. Okay.
With the increased visitation, is there any thought with maybe eliminating the ability for people to ride bikes through the garden? Because we enjoy that.
Yeah. So we try to be a garden for all. And so in my mind, I would not see an elimination of bikes, dogs, or anything else. I think we'll try to keep the strata of how much we're allowed to give that accessibility. So no, and that's great. And again, as always, I know we're wrapping up. Chick has one more question.
How about the entrance gate pavilion? What are you going to do there? I know that's been...
Yeah, no, fair question. That is a good one to end on. So again, we talk about projects and how they expand and move. So we understand right now it can be a pain point trying to get into the garden at certain times. The line extends out. What we're looking to do is add another second, if not a third, toll booth to come in. There were original talks about removing that, but for just various reasons, one being security, we really can't eliminate it. But the problem we were trying to solve for, which is the bigger question, is how do we make the experience of getting into the garden, getting to nature quicker, if you will, faster? It would be to add another toll gate or two, and ideally have an express lane for members where you can come up as a member, scan in. We probably don't even need a person there, and you could just scan and go in. So that should really help. That's going to be a 2026-27 project. Okay, I think we're at time, yeah?
Yeah, we're at time, but Peter, any final words or reflections or thoughts from you?
Well, again, thank you first of all, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to tell our story. I would just encourage you as you leave today, and before we go into this, the sermon, is just pause and think and be thankful for what the Lord and what nature provides for us, right? I encourage everyone that I talk to be ambassadors for nature. Self shall say be ambassadors for the garden as well, but understanding the power that it has. Like I said, if you're seeing someone struggling, if you have a friend, you yourself need a moment, think about that nature's right there, right? And if that's connecting to God, and you're like, we have a moment, being a tree, then please do that. I really encourage you to do that. But again, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
All
yes,
right.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you're doing to help pull off what I'm sure are some very complicated construction projects, but with this really ambitious and bold and amazing vision for the future. Yep. So we look forward to being a part of it and participating in it with you. So
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. Cheers.
All right, we'll see you in church in just a minute.
All right.
Thank you. And next week we have a wrap-up conversation reflecting on some of the things that we've been talking about these last, 5-6 weeks or so. So be here for that. We want to hear from you. We want to get into this even further. What does this all mean now that we've learned all this stuff? All right. Thanks, guys.